Ever wonder why you're still in the paycheck to paycheck cycle and it feels like everyone around you is just crushing life? 10 years ago, I felt the same way. I was poor, I was in tens of thousands of debt, and I had no financial goals. Over the last decade, I was able to pay off all that debt, build up to a $1 million net worth, and I owe it to these 7 habits. So let's just jump right into it with the first habit, learning to delay gratification for bigger goals. When I started to make a little more money in my career, I was trying to find ways to, put $100 towards a thing and then have it return me $1,000 at the end of the week or the month. It's pretty intriguing, right? And are people doing this today? Yeah. And to each their own, right? Whatever. But for me, my goals have just shifted to be a completely longer time horizon. I'm willing to sacrifice today for a better tomorrow. And that doesn't just mean personal finances, right? It means fitness, the skills that I'm learning, right? So when I'm doing a workout, it's way easier to not do a workout. I could just sit on the couch, but I'm going to be in pain today so that I'm set myself up for decades down the line. That's what we have to start thinking about. We have to start thinking in decades. I like to think of this as someone who's traveled to a very big city that they've never been before. Instead of looking up and seeing the hustle and the bustle of the city, the tops of the skyscrapers, you're just looking down at your shoes the whole time. That's what this is. Look up. There's way more to this world, to your life than, in the now. Because it's so obvious when there's people that are not intentional with their time or their money, and the people that are not aligning their spending with their goals, they're just not going to win. The actions you take today are going to shape your future, finances or otherwise. Moving on to the next habit that will fix most of your financial problems, actually tracking all your expenses. No, like actually tracking. For some reason, you think keeping track of your finances in your head is working, but it's not. This is not some like wishy-washy thing. You're either tracking your finances, you're tracking your spending, or you're not. There's no gray area. Some people are only tracking the bills that they have to pay to other people, like utilities or their rent or their credit cards, but they're not considering the regular everyday expenses like groceries or Amazon. And quite honest, guys, like you're just not gonna win if you're half-assing it. And before I started budgeting it, I had the same questions in my mind. I was like, why do I still live paycheck to paycheck? Now I know why. It wasn't until I committed myself to being intentional with my money, not restrictive, right? Intentional. There's a big difference, right? I didn't restrict my life. I was just more intentional with how my money was being spent, aligning it towards the things that matter to me the most. And if you don't like your financial outcomes, you have to look at the inputs, okay? Are you spending enough time, money, effort into these things? Which transitions nicely into the next habit, thinking you'll just start saving more as soon as you earn more. This is wrong on so many levels. First, the truth is saving is a habit, not a milestone. Earning more before building up the habit will likely cause you to just keep spending it as you earn it. If you don't believe me, check this out. Almost half of earners making $100,000 or more say they live paycheck to paycheck, and 36% of 200K plus earners also live paycheck to paycheck. It's not about the income, it's about what you do with it. I've coached plenty of people that make about $50,000 a year. They have no debt and they're putting money towards their financial goal every single month. I've also coached people that would be considered a higher earner and they have, over $100,000 of debt, and that's not even including their mortgage. Another reason saying that you're going to start saving later when you earn more first is just kind of silly. It just makes no sense, is because you would never say, oh, I'm going to start going to the gym once I become in better shape. Oh, I'm going to be really good at basketball as soon as I become 6'8". You can't get the end result before taking the action that's required first. So if you're someone with this belief, I challenge you to find $100 in your finances to start applying towards your financial goals. I promise you it's in there. Moving on to the next habit that will most likely fix your financial problems, thinking it takes a lot of extra money to reach financial goals. This was such a huge change for me in my life and in my personal finances, so much so that I just created a free course trying to help other people do the exact same thing. If you want to check it out, it's school.com/debt. It's down in the description of this video, and it's me helping you find more money in your finances. It already exists. You don't need a second job or a side hustle or an eBay thing. You find it in your finances, then you apply it towards your debt to pay it twice as fast, or the financial goal that you're working on. So check it out down in the description of this video. In the course, I talk about the power of $100, okay? Just an extra $100 is very powerful. It's hard for me just to explain it to you here, so I have to show you in my debt payment calculator. All right, guys, so we're in the debt payment calculator, and I'm not gonna give you a full tutorial here. I just kind of wanna show you quickly how this works, how the power of $100 works. So we have our inputs here of our debt information. So we have 4 debt types, right? We have the balances for each, we're totaling $40,000. We have our interest rates, our minimum payments, which total $400. So if we scroll down to here, monthly payment, we want to enter the amount of money that we're putting towards our debt every single month. So let's just assume for right now, for this example, that it's $400. Okay. So, which is our minimum payment. We're making exactly our minimum payment. We go down to the calculator here. There's going to be two strategies. So here we have the avalanche and then the snowball. Okay, so the avalanche method, where the calculator is going to be ranking your debt in order of highest interest rate to lowest interest rate. Basically, the priority debt is going to be the highest interest rate. The snowball method is ranking it from lowest debt amount to highest debt amount. So the calculator is going to prioritize the smallest debt to pay off first. So let's take a look. Our $40,000 in debt, if we're just making minimum payments, it's calculating the interest for each of the line items, okay? Not great. So we're totaling almost $50,000 of interest on top of the 40. So you don't actually have $40,000 in debt, you have like $90,000 in debt, okay? So just making the minimums. I'm recording this video in December 2024. Our debt-free date down here is August 2043. Ugh. So if we're actually serious about paying down our debt and we actually want this thing to work, it can't take 20 years, okay, for $40,000. It just can't. So we're going to apply the power of $100. I'm going to add $100 to our monthly payment. Now look down here as I'm doing this, okay? I'm going to hit enter. This total interest is going to change and the debt-free date is going to change, okay? So remember, $49,000 and August 2043. Wow. $100 saves us $28,000 of interest, and I don't even remember how many years because it was so many. 8 years of being in debt. So we'd become debt-free 8 years faster because we're saving $28,000 of interest. If that doesn't motivate you to find more money and join Dollar Discipline University at school.com/debt, I don't know what will. The number 5 habit to help solve your financial problems: spending more time on your finances. Last I checked, everyone has the same amount of time in the day, right? 24 hours. So if you don't like where you stand with your finances, it means you're just not spending enough time with it. You're not being as intentional as you probably could be, because there's other people using the same amount of time that they have in their day and they're winning in their personal finances. So it is possible. When my wife and I were paying off our $43,000 of debt in that 13-month time span, we literally had a 5 to 10 minute meeting on our couch in our living room to go over that, rinky-dinky spreadsheet that we were using, making sure that we were both aligned, right? Because we had shared debt, shared bank accounts, we had all this stuff all over the place. We needed to make sure that we were aligned in our decisions. Was it annoying? Yeah. Was it solely my decision to do that? Yeah. Did my wife roll her eyes at me every single time we had to have that meeting? Yeah. But now with technology and all the budgeting apps that are out there, all of this is just, it's so simple to keep track of, and you're on the go and you could just do it really quickly. There's no excuses. If you have this belief of not having enough time in your day, I challenge you to do a time audit of your day, your week, whatever you want to do. And I wouldn't make it too intense to start, maybe 30-minute intervals. And basically this is just to find out what the heck you do during the day. This will help with two things. First, this is going to show you what you actually do during the course of a day. I see you, Netflix. But the second thing is, once you start doing this, you're not going to want to look lazy to yourself. So you're going to actually be a little more proactive. Like if you watch Netflix from 7 to 10 p.m., guess what you're not doing the night that you're tracking your time? You won't be watching Netflix from 7 to 10 p.m. So how can we fill that time with something that's a little more productive? Maybe, I don't know, tracking our finances? Which transitions nicely into the next habit: stop forgetting about irregular or seasonal expenses. I'm working with someone on her personal finances, and in the last meeting that we had, she was stressed because she had this 6-month payment that was due in the next month, and she didn't really have the money for it. It's for thousands of dollars, okay? And she's like, yeah, this always puts me in the hole like a couple months. Like I pay for it on a credit card, and then I have to pay off the credit card, and it takes a couple months for me to pay it off, and then the next 6 months thing comes again, and the same thing happens. And I was like, well, why don't we put aside 1/6 of the 6-month payment every single month? And then that way, when the payment comes due every 6 months, we just, again, slide the money over to the correct account. We make the payment and then we move on. And it didn't impact our other financial goals, right? We just were planning and we were being more intentional. She's like, oh, that makes a ton of sense, right? So plan ahead. We want to keep moving forward, even if it's really small increments. We want to keep moving forward, not backwards. The number 7 habit that will help you get rid of your financial problems: celebrating small wins along the way. Going through a personal finance journey can be exhausting, frustrating, boring, to be very honest. So you have to keep trying to find ways to keep yourself motivated and keep interest in it. For example, my wife and I, we manufacture 24 small wins in our finances every single year. And it's because of our spending habits, actually. So we both have 9 to 5 jobs. We get paid at the beginning of each month and the middle of each month. And for most people, the roof over their heads is the most expensive thing that they have, right? Their rent or their mortgage. So for us, our mortgage comes out in the beginning of the month, and literally every other expense comes out of our bank account in the middle of the month. Now, how do we do that? We're able to set this up, and we've been doing this for years actually, is because we use credit cards for all of our other expenses. Now, the caveat is if you're in tremendous amount of debt and credit cards are the problem, this is not the strategy for you, okay? I'm just telling you what works for us because we were not doing this when we were paying off our debt, by the way. We have been doing this since. It just helps organize our money. And again, it gives us 24 wins. So each payroll cycle for us is a small win. Our mortgage comes out of our bank account, but our 2 checks go in our bank account, and the 2 checks are higher than the 1 mortgage. So that's a win. And then in the middle of the month, okay, our credit card payment goes out, but our 2 checks go in, and it covers, again, all the other expenses. So we have a small win at the beginning of the month, a small win at the middle of the month, and that money is going towards financial goals. So like we have these extra money, we shove it to the thing that's most important at the time. So back in the day, the goal was paying down debt. Then it was focusing on, retirement account. Now we have the 2 kids. We're focusing on them. Try that out for yourself if you're interested. Again, not for everyone, but this is just a small portion of what you'd need to completely change your finances this year. I go way deeper in this free course that's designed to ultimately help you pay off your debt way more efficiently. So if that's something that you want to be serious about this year, I will see you on the other side.